Hi, I've put this video together to show you how I repaired my fuel line. In order to do so, it helps to have a hydraulic flaring tool, which is what you see in front of you. This is a Mastercool universal hydraulic flaring tool. They come in different assortments, different dies. This one has a lot of dies I will never use. The ones that I'm using for today are the 3/8 over here, and of course I got the flaring tool out too as well. Okay. So let me give you a little bit of background. I had a '97 Buick Regal. I used it as a winter car, and several years ago I developed a bit of a fuel leak near the front wheel well. I had no idea what the best way to fix it. I've seen people use rubber hoses and double clamps like they used to use on AC, and as far as I know they work, but I wanted to see what the current technology was, so I went on YouTube, and South Main Auto is a very reliable source, so I saw a video there. I watched it, and I have to thank Eric for the video. So what I did is I cut out the part that was broken, and I don't remember how I did that, but I'll tell you how I did it this time. And what I ended up doing was, I think, because I actually have the old parts somewhere, I had them in the basement, this is the fuel line off of the fuel rail. So in the back of the V6 3.8 liter, there's a fuel rail. This thing is attached to it. In order to disconnect it, you need a Lyle tool like this, or an equivalent, a 37,000. The second smallest one is for 3/8. You slide this on the metal rail, stick it in this hole, you line these things up here, the solid parts, with the tabs. You push up as hard as you can, and you wiggle, and hopefully you knock it off. On the other end, I had to cut off whatever I didn't want to use, and then I went ahead and I made the flare with the tool like this, or with this tool. At the other end, I didn't have access to make a flare, so what I did is I ended up putting one of these connectors on some nylon tube. This is the kit I had bought from, this is a Dorman 800-058. It included a barbed thing to connect to, which I don't know how to use, because I can use the same technique to connect one end of the barb, but without the appropriate tool I can't connect the other end. So. And it also had, I guess, one of these, and who knows what else. This nylon tie doesn't do any purpose when it comes to saving fuel. It just holds this rubber on here, so if it rubs, it doesn't cut a hole into the nylon. I didn't know how to connect my steel gas line to the nylon line, so I probably went to the auto parts store, and they probably sold me this configuration here. I don't know. Go to your parts store and do the same thing if that's what you're going to try to do. Anyways, that's it for that. So this time I have a 2002 Buick Regal. This time it leaked basically underneath the driver's seat. So I crawled into the car, and I noticed that there are brackets that hold the fuel line and the brake lines up against the floor of the car. And everywhere it was rusted. Even though I rust my car every year, it was rusted. So rather than find out which of the rusted areas was leaking, I said I might as well replace the entire thing with a nylon line. So I went and bought a Dorman kit. This one here is a 800-075. It's a 10-foot line. This is what's left of it. And I also went out and I bought a box of these connectors. Now, the original connectors I bought a couple years ago was one of these. It was a 800-82. And these are made in Korea, and they're more sturdy than the ones that are made in China, which is what I bought here. You don't have a choice. Sometimes you go to the store, you buy what they have. So this is an 800-082.5. The 5 means there's 5 in the box. Again, I showed you what you do with this tool, so I can put this away for now. Alright, so what I did is I crawled underneath the back door where the fuel filter is. And the fuel filter has a quick connect on one end, and a I believe it's 20 millimeter on the other end, so I used a adjustable wrench for the 20 millimeter because I don't have a 20 millimeter wrench, and a 16 millimeter wrench on the other end. A little bit of force, you can break it free. I put a frying pan on the floor so that any fuel that leaked went into the frying pan and not onto the asphalt to make a big mess. Once that was free, I then wiggled the line. Let's see, where's the rest of the piece that I had here? I wiggled the line until it broke one of those brackets. And it was very rusted. And of course you don't want to keep that, so you have to cut that off. So in order to cut that off, I used this tool here, made in USA from Sears from many, many years ago. You stick it on here, you spin it around, and you make sure the cutting wheel lands on exactly the same spot. If it doesn't, something's wrong with your cutting tool or your pipe. Stop before you make it worse. So you spin it around, tighten it a little bit, again, spin it around, tighten it a little bit until eventually it snaps off. Okay, so now I had a piece of pipe, and I already cut this, so it's going to look weird. So basically it was something like this, and this isn't actually from the car, I made this. And you'll have a piece like this, where there's an O-ring at one end and the nut on the other. The nut is 16 millimeters, so you can take it off, like I said. So anyway, I cut this already. Once you cut it with this tool, I use this other tool for the for this piece here. So I can go inside and make sure there's no burr, like that. And then once that's done, I got a file, and I do a light filing like this to make sure, again, no burrs. And then just to make things really nice, I get some emery cloth. This is medium, it's not super fine, and I clean it like this. And then I go get my tool. So the first thing you do is you have to make sure this thing is not closed. So I have it closed right now. I open it, and then I can turn it in. So in order to use this tool, you have to get your die. So the 3/8 die is 2 pieces. Make sure the open end is towards you. You stick this in here. I do not use this piece that came in here. I unscrew it, take it off, and then I screw it back. Instead I use a 13 millimeter socket. Why is this so tight? Okay, 13 millimeter socket. I just make it loose, not tight. And then I get my pipe that I want to flare, and I stick it in here. It's too tight. Okay, so now you have this little stop here. You stick it in here, and you use your thumb to hold it flat. You push the pipe in, and then you tighten it. And then you get rid of this guy, and you see with your eye to make sure it's pretty good. All right. All right. Then you get your 13 millimeter, and you tighten it up. You got to make it really tight, because if it's not tight, the pipe's going to slide. You can tell when it's tight enough because it'll stop. Okay, so then you get a die that goes on the other side, and I use some cutting oil. I bought this many years ago to use on a machine lathe. I'm sure you can get it somewhere, and if you don't, I think on YouTube you'll see people using WD-40 or some other penetrating oil. Get a Q-tip, you stick it in a little bit of the cutting oil, and you stick it in there, and you just go quick, and you get rid of it. Now you put the die in, make sure this is out of the way, put your die in. Oh, I gotta back it out now, because I put it in. Make sure this is open. Close it. Okay, it's closed. I'm going to close this guy. And I pump. Make sure this is out of the way. Okay, I feel resistance now, but it's the right resistance. There, it's tight now. So I will back it up and see what happens. Oops, I didn't take this out yet. So I open this up, back it out, and hopefully it'll come free. It doesn't sometimes. So basically you stick a screwdriver in and you just twist it a little bit. Well, it's not working. Huh. It's pulling the whole die out with me. So let me do this again. It's not working, obviously. Not working. Shit. There she goes. So it's free now. Alright, so this is open. Unscrew it. Take the die out. Unscrew this guy. Here are the other dies, and there's my quick connect fitting. So yay, it worked. So that's the second part of the video. Okay, so I no longer need this for this part of the video. Okay, so the next thing you have to do is you have to get the idea is to get this thing to snap onto there. So the next thing you do is, well, you wipe this off, the oil. You don't want the oil there, I don't think. But it's a perfectly good connector. Next thing you got to do is you got to connect one of these guys to a hose. Now, if you read the instructions, they tell you to use hot water. It's apparently not very successful. So I looked on a few different videos, and some guys use vices and some people use these guys. So I said, okay, I'll give this a try. So what I did is I used a hole saw, 2-inch hole saw, to cut a 2-inch biscuit out of 3/4 inch wood. This was actually a hardwood flooring. The reason I cut it is it fits in here nicely, and it's bigger, wider than the lip on here. So if it was shorter, then it wouldn't work. Okay, so here's what I did. I got this off of somebody else. It's not my original idea. I have a old-fashioned flaring tool that I used on my car many years ago. So what you got to do is you stick it in here in the 3/8 hole. So I've got holes here from 3/16, quarter, 5/16, 3/8 and a half. So you got to make it kind of tight. What am I doing? I'm sorry, I'm backwards. Do this with a nylon line. Okay. So you put the nylon line in there. You have to make sure there's enough clearance for this. This isn't even a straight end, this is a straight end. So it has to be at least deep enough for that. Okay, now this isn't steel, so there's no point making it as tight as you can. Okay, it's pretty tight. It actually is as tight as you can. Okay, now you're gonna have to feed this in here. But in order to put it in here, you stick this on here. So yeah, so let me finish the story. So I use a 2-inch hole saw, cut this, then you drill a hole in the middle where the pilot is for the hole saw, and it has to be at least 3/8, so I did 1/64 bigger because I happen to have a tool that size. Slide it on there. Let me see. You got to get this tool in here first. Then you slide this on here. You make sure that the slot doesn't like line up with the top or whatever, or you might get messed up. And then you got to get this thing into your hole. So what you do is, this is a 1/4-inch drive, 3/8 socket. Now they're not all equal. This is the skinniest one I have, and it fits in here just nicely. Some of them are a little bit thick. The reason is there's a flat area which you want to push on. So let me put this back in there. Okay, so the idea is to get this like that and push it in. So we'll just... Okay, so it's getting close. So I'll hold that there. Okay, it's touching. So I've got it as centered as I can, and I put my fingers here to make sure it goes in straight. And I push it in slowly, and it's going in without any issues. Now I'm using a pretty fancy gun, I guess. It's a Cox. The old guns I used to have fell apart, so I went out and bought a new one. I want to make sure I don't have any problems. So this is how you connect it. So this is the first part of the part 3. So then you disconnect it. You take the biscuit off here. Take the flaring tool off. And now this should snap onto there. I don't have the white part there, so let me just get a new one. Okay, so now this should snap right into there. And if it doesn't snap right away, what they recommend you do is you take the white part off, snap that on first, it's on, and then snap into here. So now you have a leak-proof connection. Now I can show you how to use my, I can't remember where I put it, my other separator tool. So the tabs are here, so you put these wings there, you push it as hard as you can, and then it comes off. See? Easy. So this is an accessible thing. Hi, this is a typical 3.8 liter engine. This particular one is out of a 2002 Pontiac Grand Prix. This here is the fuel rail, and here is where the connector is. I'm taking a picture so you can see what I'm talking about inside, okay? And here would be a front rail, and they're connected over here. Here is a fuel filter from a 2002 Buick Regal. One end has a quick connect, the other is a, I believe, 20 millimeter outside diameter nut that you have to grab. The line that goes in would be a 16 millimeter.